Let's talk about Demon's Tilt. Here's a little background on why we're talking about this game right now. I promised myself I'd review the first game I saw that stood out to me on Xbox Game Pass, that I could reasonably give a short review for, and this one seemed perfect. But Dave, you may ask, what is Demon's Tilt? Well, Tim, in this scenario the other participant's name is Tim. First of all, don't call me Dave. Second, Demon's Tilt is a pinball game. Now you may be asking, is there anything that sets this pinball game apart from other pinball games? The answer to that would be, we'll see. This is just your standard run-of-the-mill pinball game. The description, however, does hype this game up. Turbocharged pinball returns. Now with bigger sprites, more baddies, more secrets, and more bullets. Demon's Tilt pushes the limits of the video pinball drama with shmup and hack-and-slash elements. We'll see about that one, Mr. Steam description. In fact, we'll see about all of these. Now it might seem like I'm just saying things in hopes of padding this review because the game itself really doesn't have much to talk about, and you'd be correct. However, I'll start talking about the gameplay right now. First of all, we have the controls. You hold space to launch the ball, and left shift and right shift to work the left and right paddles. In terms of complexity, this game is not exactly Crusader Kings 2. Since this is one of two pinball games I know, I have no choice but to display my lack of qualification and compare it to the classic elementary school time killer, 3D Space Cadet Pinball by Maxis. Many a 2006 summer afternoon was spent playing 3D Space Cadet Pinball, Solitaire, and Minesweeper, the latter two of which I still have no idea how to play to this day. First, let's investigate this game's claims of bigger sprites and more baddies. While there are indeed a lot of large sprites, multitudes of baddies, and the board is extremely dynamic, there's a level of chaos in here that essentially reaches a point in which I no longer have any idea what's going on. It's why I'd give 3D Space Cadet Pinball a leg up in this department. That game doesn't deluge your senses with a blend of bright flashing lights and angry monsters slumming around the board. I do know that there are these centipedes that show up, and they don't look friendly. There's also this evil nun named Lilith at the top of the board, and I really wonder what her story is. Obviously, Lilith isn't the most original name, so she could be anything. Is she a demon impersonating a nun? Is she a fallen nun who was cast out of the nun place because she was caught flicking it to pictures of a young Pope Pius XII? Or is she a nun who is moonlighting as a demon, but doesn't have time to change into her demon uniform? If that's the case, I really feel for her. Lilith perfectly embodies the struggles of the working class. I also admire her employer for understanding her struggle and letting her wear the nun uniform during her second job terrorizing the sons of Adam. I could see how this game embodies elements of bullet hell, shoot 'em up, and hack and slash gameplay, just not in the way you'd think. It's all about dragging your balls across demons' faces. Also, in my experience, the main goal of a bullet hell shooter is to avoid all the little dots that are all over the screen. In this, your goal is to run headlong into as many dots as possible. That's like the opposite of what you'd think you were supposed to do, right? I mean, it's a perfectly reasonable mechanic. If you had to avoid these, that would be a real pain in the balls, because you don't have control over the ball after it makes an impact with the paddle. I definitely enjoy the soundtrack to this game as well. It's all electronic video gamey music, but I definitely hear traces of melodic death metal riffage in there. It sounds like a video game soundtrack if it were cooked up by the likes of At the Gates, Darkest Hour, or the Black Dahlia Murder. Well, that's pretty much all I have to say about Demon's Tilt. It's a great time killer, especially if you have a lot of awkward gaps in your schedule where you can't get into something a little more involved like an FPS or an RPG, but still want to do something on your computer or video game console in your apartment before going off to an event or a class or something of that nature. Thanks for watching this little rundown of this surprisingly satisfying pinball game. I, Cremus, the devourer of innocence, shall return to the abyss from whence I came.